Firefly episode overview number 12, The Message. The Message is the 12th episode of Firefly, the TV series, and wasn't aired during the original series run. It is the second of 3 episodes that were not broadcast in the original 2002 Fox run. The show opens on a space station, inside which there are people wandering about in a kind of carnival. A barker extols an exhibit featuring proof of alien life. Inside the exhibit, Simon and Kaylee stare at a tall, illuminated cylinder that holds a strange and apparently dead creature. The doctor declares that it is a mutated cow fetus, not an alien. Simon uses this moment alone with the engineer to attempt to get closer to her, but once again puts his foot in his mouth when he mentions that the only other women that he knows are either married, professional, or related to him, and Kaylee leaves in a huff. As Kaylee departs, Zoe and Wash enter, the latter declaring that it's grotesque before noticing something in a jar. Wash mockingly tries to communicate with the alien. Zoe manages to both console and insult Simon. Back in the concourse, Inara tries to convince Mal to let her help fence the Lassiter they stole in the episode trash. But Mal insists on keeping her out of that side of the business. Mal checks in with the station postmaster, who passes 2 packages along with Serenity's mail. Jane arrives to find his mother has sent him a home-knit cap and proudly dons it. The others observe the hideous headgear, with a mixture of amusement and sarcasm. Quote, "A man walks down the street in that hat, and people will know he's not afraid of anything." The other item shipped is a huge crate addressed to Mal and Zoe. They open it to discover a dead body. Flashback to 7 years earlier at the Battle of Duquesne. As a young independent soldier, Private Tracy Smith calmly prepares a meal behind cover. An Alliance soldier sneaks up on him. Just as the latter is about to shoot, Zoe appears from behind and cuts his throat. While she lectures the boy about stealth, Sergeant Reynolds comes screaming in over some obstacles and crashes into their position. Tracy is injured when the Alliance zeroes in on them. Mal and Zoe grab Tracy and their shell-shocked lieutenant and bug out. Back in the present, the 2 ex-soldiers puzzle over the decently preserved corpse of their former comrade. Hauling the box aboard Serenity, they find a recorded message from Tracy. He apparently anticipated trouble from some unsavory associates and has asked them to ship his body to St. Albans. Back on the station, an ominous Alliance law officer, Lieutenant Womack, enters with 2 goons. He threatens to first imprison and then incinerate the postmaster, who quickly tells the man and his aides who left with the coffin-sized package. On Serenity, Jane waxes surprisingly philosophical about death to Shepherd Book, who contemplates a modest ceremony for the dead man. Jane notes that he always gets the urge to do stuff when he sees a corpse he didn't kill, prompting Book to speculate that Jane likes to prove himself that he's alive after witnessing death. River arrives to make herself more comfortable by laying on the casket. Meanwhile, Mal and Zoe entertain Inara with a hilarious tale about Tracy's antics during the war, such as when he stole an officer's mustache and glued it to his face. Suddenly, the ship is shaken by a near miss from an Alliance craft. Lieutenant Womack hails them and demands to board Serenity. The crew mistakenly think that Womack's after the Lassiter. When Womack mentions that crate, however, Mal realizes he's after Tracy's coffin and stalls for time as they take the crate apart to discover secrets it might contain. Finding nothing, they decided to have Simon Tam autopsy the hapless soldier. But the doctor's first incision causes the dead man to leap and struggle with the gathered crew. After he calms down, Tracy confesses that he is smuggling illegal internal organs. He was supposed to deliver the implanted organs on aerial, but got a higher bid. Unfortunately for him, the original buyers killed the new customers and are now after the stolen merchandise. 2 more shots from Womack reminds them of their immediate peril. Wash takes Serenity down to St. Albans, where they try unsuccessfully to elude their pursuer in a narrow, snowbound valley. They finally come to rest inside of a hidden cave, but the Alliance ship drops explosive charges into the valley to flush them out. Kaylee gets to know and then even flirt with the young soldier, whose words mesmerized her earlier. Book does some checking on their Alliance pursuers and discovers some anomalous behavior. He ultimately recommends to Mal that they allow the feds to board the ship. Tracy overhears some of the conversation and pulls a gun on the crew. Mal expresses disgust at his former subordinates' attempt to force them out of his own mess, and orders Wash to call the feds. As Tracy fires at Wash, wounding him, Zoë shoots the ungrateful man in the chest. Wounded but not slowed down, Tracy grabs Kaylee for cover and heads for the cargo bay. When Mal confronts him about his treacherous behavior, Tracy lays into his former superiors about being saps. Jane comes up from behind him and Tracy turns to shoot him. Mal fires instead, knocking the young man to the ground. Lieutenant Womack enters the cargo bay with Skunk and Fendris. He tries to cow the smugglers with his Alliance authority, but the unarmed Book arrives to explain why he won't be using that authority, given the pains he has taken to keep his extracurricular organ-dealing activity from the local federal agents, about 8 sectors from his jurisdiction. Faced with a surprisingly direct threat of death from the preacher, Womack decides to depart, dismissing the damaged goods in Tracy's gravely wounded chest. Tracy belatingly realizes that Book's confrontation was part of the plan, one that he screwed up by threatening the crew and getting himself shot for his efforts. He asks Mal and Zoë to deliver him once more, and dies, speaking a phrase that they shared in the war, accompanied by gloomy music and voice-over excerpts from Tracy's message. The crew of Serenity solemnly returns the fallen soldier to his grieving family.